So we want to try and keep it that way. And we'll set the straps up before we sort of get into anything, because it's easier to do that rather than trying to sit upright and work out just at the last moment. So you need to just take your strap and make it into a loop with the belt, and then just prepping up for 50 minutes from now. We're going to take the strap around the outside edges of the legs and just draw that in. And you want it sort of fairly high up, but not slipping off the knees, so that you can let the weight of your legs sink into the strap and it just holds you. It's called cradling. And that's it. And then we're just going to put that by the side of our mat. Now we are going to use it for other things as well today, but we can use it in that setup, it'll be fine. We'll spend a little time now getting used to the sitting position, so choosing how you want to sit, lengthening the spine up, rolling the shoulders back, and letting yourself breathe easily. Or close the eyes. And just slowly let the breath come in and out through the nose. So perhaps a slower breath than we would normally make. See if we can draw it from deep down in the belly, all the way through the body. As we open the eyes, we can let the chin drop towards the chest, keeping the spine very upright, so it is very much stretch around the back of the shoulders. And if you're uncomfortable sitting with the legs crossed in one way for a period of time, you might want to change those around. When you're ready, we're going to take a breath, just drawing the chin over towards that right shoulder, lifting up halfway, and then bringing that back down to the center and taking it over to the left. So we're just making half neck circles. And seeing how the neck feels. So working smoothly with the breath gives us a chance to find any sticky points and move through them gently. And then we'll bring the chin back into the center. So we're nicely aligned. I'm going to take effectively a cat-cow, but in a sitting position. So we're going to tilt the pelvis forwards and let the chest lift up. So kind of roll the shoulders back a little bit. And then we'll tilt the pelvis back, drawing the belly button in towards the spine and letting the spine round and the head drop. Tilting the pelvis again, we come forwards. Now it's a little easier if the hands are on the thighs. And you're trying to have your chin follow where your heart points to. So it gives you some idea of how far you need to extend, where your head position is going to be, just following that nice natural curve of the spine. But it gets a nice connection in early in the practice. Hips, lower back and spine, pelvis moving together. There's a meditative quality to this breath and movement. And we'll come back into a neutral spine. I guess we can take the legs open a little bit so we can bring the soles of the feet together, but try and have the heels in close towards the body, so the knees will be relatively high. If you can, take your hands around the big toe, so index finger, middle finger, and then focus on having that pelvis in a neutral position, so you can lift your spine up in a beautiful line up towards the sky. And let the legs open. Now, if you're not able to hold on to the big toes, you can hold on to the ankle shins. But we want to be sitting atop directly of those sitting bones and just letting the spine reach up. And hopefully feeling the hips gently releasing. Ever the optimist. And we'll release and just take the hands around the back of the thighs and lengthen the legs out slowly. So you want the feet to be together and draw the toes back towards you a little bit, so you're lengthening out. Hands are on the floor just by the side of the body. Again, we're just trying to work on that really long spine, pressing the sitting bones down. And then we're going to take a little turn towards the left. Looking over the rear shoulder, trying not to lean back. On an exhale, we'll spin back down slowly to the front of the mat. Take a breath in. On the exhale, gently move to the opposite side. On the exhale, come back to the center. Take the breath in. Exhale around to the left. Breathe in. And exhale to the front. Breath in. To the right. Exhaling. Breathe in. And then gently back to the front of the mat. We're going to allow the feet to come underneath. We're going to come into hero's pose. So if you can, we're going to take the blocks between the ankles, portrait style. Bring the knees together, take the feet out a little wider. Use the hands to help guide you in gently. Now, if you're able to get your bottoms down on the floor without a block, that's great. And if you need a little bit more height, then you might need to grab a brick, place that underneath the sitting bones as well. Or a bolster would have been useful. So just letting those knees kind of open up a little bit, stretching out the ankles, front edge. There's a little bit of rotation inwards of the thighs, which is where we want to try and keep the knees together. And then we'll let the arms float out wide. And we'll just bring that left arm square across the chest and lock the right arm underneath to draw the shoulder blade around a little bit. Breathing into the back of the ribs. Feeling the front and the back of the shoulders stretching out evenly. Becoming a little more aware of the chest muscles at the same time. We'll float the arms back out. That right arm comes across and the left arm locks underneath. And we'll release from there. So we'll come back onto our fingertips and just move the block out of the way. We're going to make our way into down dog. So on all fours at the front of the mat. You can have a little maraud a little bit before we lift. So just giving the wrists a little chance to get used to taking some weight, the fingers spreading out, getting the knuckles down towards the floor. And then when you're ready, go press away from the ground. So lifting the shoulders, tuck the toes underneath, and then lift the knees up and back. And stepping it out a little further into your down dog shape if you need to. Not all bodies come naturally from tabletop into down dog in the most comfortable position. So a little moving around. We're going to pedal the legs out once we've adjusted to length. And we avoid the heels touching the floor completely, so you want to be far enough back for that to happen. Now, whilst we're in down dog, we'll take the feet as wide as the mat, turn the heels in a little bit, walk your hands gently towards the toes and squat down as we arrive. Now, it's not a full squat, but we are going to get reasonably low. And then let the head hang down and the belly through the thighs. We'll take a couple of breaths here. And then draw the belly in and we'll ragdoll back out. So we lift up through the legs, roll the spine nice and gently, and then just bring the feet back in, hip distance apart, and shake everything out. Walk slowly back up to the front of the mat. And we're going to take a little breath from here and allow ourselves to do some balance work. We're just going to work into the hips. Now I've moved nice and close to the wall. You might want to do the same. Now draw my leg that's outside of the wall, obviously, up, so knee comes high. In this case, it's my right. And then I'm just going to take it out to the side as high as I can. Roll it back, and then bring it back in. So it's really big, slow hip circles. Now you can do this as a balance with the hand away from the wall. But if your body is just waking up like mine is, well, the balancing bit's up here and the contact point's down there, and that's rather a big distance for everything to kind of meet up and understand what's going on. So do one more of those this side. And then I'm going to turn around and do the other side. So again, just standing up nice and tall, the hand against the wall for reassurance if you wish to use it. Draw the knee up. Take it out. You take it out as far as you can, and then a little bit back, and draw it in. Try and keep the heel the same distance from the buttock as it moves around. And this is one of the few things you can do in a yoga class at home far more easily than you can generally in the studio, because you're limited by how much wall you've got and how many people you have. But most people have got a wall at home somewhere or a tabletop they can hold on to. I'll take 2 more of those. Last one. And then we'll bring the foot back down and we'll come back onto the front of the mat. We'll take a little breath from there. We're going to take the feet about hip distance apart and parallel. Take the hands up towards the sky on the breath in. Bring the hands through the heart. Going to hinge over the hips so the thighs lift a little bit. The weight comes into the toes and fold down. And soften the knees a little bit. Take the hands forwards and sit back into chair. Drawing the spine long, belly in. And then drive through the legs to lift up. Let the hands come in towards the heart, taking the breath in. Hinge over the thighs again. Down to the floor. Soften the knees as you sit back, take the weight into the heels a little bit. Draw the hands forwards into that chair pose. Drive through the legs to lift up. Hands come into the heart. Exhale down and over. Fingertips on the floor. Take the hands forwards one more time. And allow ourselves to lift up. We're going to take the hands out wide. Allow ourselves to bring the toes together. Little gap for the heels. On the inhale, we're going to just lift up onto the tiptoes. And on the exhale, we're going to see how slowly we can let the heels come back down. Inhaling up. Exhaling out. You'll notice that you kind of roll around on the ball of the foot. Trying to keep the ankles as stable as you can. This is harder than it sounds. So now we've got the hang of that. We're going to take the arms in as well. Inhale, hands to the sky and lift up onto the tiptoes. Bring the hands down and the heels. See if we can get the heels and the hands to touch down with the exhale. Float the arms back up. Lift up slowly. Reaching up to the highest point. Slow exhale down. Two more. And the last one. And then shake out the legs a little bit. I'm going to move off the mat again, just to the side, just so that I've got a flatter floor to work with. So just make sure there's nothing around that you're going to bump into. We'll take a little breath from here. Allow ourselves to draw the right knee to about the height of the hip. Take a little breath. Going to draw the knee down towards the floor. Hands come around the ankle. Let the knee come down towards the ground. We're going to try and get thigh to thigh. And then we're going to tap back into that neutral pelvis. So you want to send the tailbone down. The front of the hip pelvis lifts up a little bit. So it's that same movement we had in the seated cat-cow. The left hand out to the side for a little bit of extra balance. And then we release, shake out that leg. It's surprising how quickly it gets tired. And then bring the toes together again. Find something to focus on. Take the weight into the opposite leg. Left leg lifts, knee comes up to about the height of the hip, more or less. Just enough so that you can then draw the heel in towards your bottom and take the hand down slowly to find. And then walk the fingers out to the toes is a little bit easier than holding onto the ankle. See if you can bring the knee down towards the floor, hips pointing forwards, and then that pelvis just comes into that neutral position, that little tweak through the pelvis, kind of fires up the butt cheeks a little bit, and draws the belly in a little tighter as well. And we'll release from there as well. Shake out that leg, and then I'm going to come all the way back onto my usual position, the front of the mat, which feels more familiar. We'll take the hands up towards the sky on the breath in. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Exhale over the hips. Down to the floor. Well, step back into down dog. And we'll draw the right knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Come up onto the fingertips into the lunge. And we're just going to breathe and lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders back a little bit. So there's very little weight in the hands. And press out through that back heel to the point where we can start to feel the inner thigh, groin, and pelvis engage a little bit. It is a long hold. So you do need to breathe. Now bring the hands to the floor and step ourselves back into the down dog. Let the hips lift as high as they can. Let the legs lengthen out. And draw the left knee in. Bring that foot through. Plenty of time to adjust the foot forwards or backwards as you need. You just check that your knee is finally sitting over the front ankle. Pressing out through that back heel. Head stays in line with the rest of the body. The belly's drawn in a little bit as well. And then we'll step that back into down dog again. The right knee comes in again. Take a little time to find your points. I'm going to bring the hands gently onto the front thigh to lift up. Let the hands come by the side of the body. We'll take the hands out in line with the shoulders, so the palms face forwards. Let the hands come in towards the heart. Keep the elbows nice and wide. We're going to rotate and lean forwards. Take that left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. And then press the heel and the hands together to lift the chest a little more from the floor. Keep the eyes down on the ground, watching your big toe. And then we'll bring the hands gently to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. And we'll draw the left knee in. Bring that through. Same again, so you can find balance between the 2 feet. When you're ready, bring the hands onto the front thigh to lift up. So it's important that the knee is over the ankle rather than forwards. Let the hands come out to the side. As you inhale, bring the hands in towards the heart on the exhale. Keep those elbows high again, breath in. As you lean forwards, you rotate gently. And just lay the elbow to the outside of the thigh. And then we can bring the hands to the floor and step it back into our down dog. So we'll bring the right foot in again into the lunge. And this time I'm going to drop the back knee down to the floor and untuck the toes. Now I'm going to take the right hand onto the inside of my right foot and just wiggle my right foot out an inch or two further to the side. I'm going to take a little breath. Start to turn the chest towards the left. Take the left hand towards the left hip and then rotate it up towards the sky. So I made a little bit of space first before I came into the twist. Now this is the open side, which sounds like it should be generous because of the word open, but it's actually quite technically difficult. You're pressing the arm and the leg very much into each other to hold your balance. And you want a soft breath, which is not easy to achieve, but it helps with keeping the balance. Sudden breath will tend to knock you over. Bring the hand back down to the floor. Bring the foot back in, hand outside. We're stepping back into down dog. And drawing the left knee into the final side. The knee comes down, hand comes in, and we walk the foot out just a few inches, a couple of inches to the outside. I like the toes untucked on the back foot so I can press the shin into the floor a little more to help with balance. You start to twist the body to the right so you can take the hand towards the hip. It's that first little lift. You continue to turn around the chest and then you expand the hand up. So you're not really pulling quite so much into the shoulder. You're not using the shoulder to draw yourself around. It's more of a torso twisty experience. And it is an experience if you haven't done this low open twist with the hand on the floor. It's not easy. In terms of the stress difficulty in finding your balance, I'd put it at about 9 or out of 10. This is more than it looks. I'll bring the hand back down and allow ourselves to come back into down dog. We'll take a couple of breaths here. Draw the right knee in, bring the foot through. I'm going to come into warrior two, so drop her heel down on the back foot. Bring the hands onto the front thigh again to open up and allow ourselves to open and adjust as we need to. And considering how slow we've been moving, generated a lot of heat in the body, used a lot of big muscles, taken a lot of oxygen out of them, so your breath will be a little higher, stronger, deeper. We'll float the hands towards the sky. We'll rotate down gently to the floor, and we'll step it back into that down dog. And we'll draw the left knee in, bring the foot through, drop heel down, hands onto the front side to lift up, and let ourselves open up. So chance to check knee position, foot is pointing forwards, back heel is connected, toes are spread. And inhale the hands up above the shoulders. Rotate gently, lengthen out and down with control. Take a little breath. We're going to spin the heel on the back foot this time towards the sky and step it into a forward fold. Come up onto the fingertips to draw the chest forwards and open up the back of the legs. And then slowly fold in deep. And soften the knees as you need to. Now bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and slowly come back up. Again, I'm going to make myself a little bit of room and allow ourselves to come into tree pose. So, bring the feet together, find something to focus on, bring the hands in towards your heart. Take a moment just to spread the toes out a little bit. Give them a bit of space and air, a bit of freedom. Try and get the feet to be as big as you can, basically, and spreading out. I'm going to take the weight into the left foot, so be conscious that we don't drop into that left hip too much. And I'm just going to bring the heel of the right foot onto the ankle and the toe to the outside. So I'm turning the knee out gently, keeping the hips pointing forwards, seeing how that feels. That feels good. And you want to take your foot away from the ground. It comes onto the shin and the calf. And you see how that feels. So not only does it test our balance, but it also tests the hip a little bit, taking the knee out to the side. If that feels good, we come up a little higher. So we draw the knee, let one hand come down, find the ankle, and place the heel right to the top of the groin so the toes are away from the knee joint. And you can keep your hands in towards the heart, or you can take them out to the side, making a Y shape, or even above the head, palms together. So if the hands are high, you bring them down. And then we'll release. Bring the foot back down to the floor. Shake out the leg that's done all the work. And then when you're ready, you bring the feet together again. Find something to focus on that doesn't move. And shift the weight gently into that right leg. And then just bring the heel, toe, ankle combination, that first level. It's still tree pose. It's a very effective way of teaching yourself to find your balance. And if you're having a day where it's a little poor, this is the place to be. So you have a chance of keeping calm whilst you're doing it. If you feel good, you can take the foot onto the shin and the calf, remembering that not all sides are equal. And if that feels good, and you want to take it further, you draw the knee high, let the hand come down, bring that heel right into the top, press it into the thigh, so there's a little bit of yin and yang between the thigh and the foot. And again, if you want to raise the hands, you can do. So if hands are high, you bring them down. And then everyone releases and brings the foot back out. Cool. We'll come into the front of the mat. We're going to use that block now. So we'll just ease our way down. And the first thing we're going to do with the block is actually just take it behind the heels and then kind of reverse in and place the heels onto the corner edges of the mat, feet out to the side, so we can come into a deeper squat than we had before. Now, again, if you're able to get the heels on the floor without using the block, if you've got enough space in the ankle joints and the ligaments, etc., are happy with that, by all means, don't use the block. You're going to bring the elbows in and then start to bring the palms together into prayer. And as we draw the hands in towards the heart and draw the shoulders back, consequence of that is that the thighs get opened out for us. I'm going to try and draw the chest up a little bit, draw the belly in, breathe a little bit more into the middle back. Now we've got about a minute here in this pose. By all means, if you need to have the fingers on the floor for balance, that's fine. It's better to lean forwards and catch yourself than spring backwards. And we're going to release the hands behind and allow the legs to come back out. So I think those ankles are a little bit of a roll round because they kind of need that. They're begging for it. So lengthen the legs out, sitting up nice and tall in Dandasana. Pressing out through the heels, toes towards the sky. And then we're going to make our way into Janu Shishasana, which is the head, knee, toes pose. We're going to bring the right heel into the groin and let the knee down to the floor. If you don't happen to be able to get the knee all the way to the ground, a cushion or a block underneath there would be handy. Obviously, we'd need more than one block for that to happen. I'm going to turn the thigh in so that the foot naturally points towards the sky, and then preempt a little bend in the knee. Bring the hands onto the shin and lift the hips up. Fold over. I'm going to keep the spine nice and long. So we're just resting the hands on the shin. And then I'm going to press the heel away very gently and try and draw the hip back at the same time. So I start to take that little bend that I had in the knee away. And then release. And I work into the same for the second side. So feet come out together, center line. Heel comes into the groin, knee goes down. Square the hips, a little turn of the thigh, little bend. Hands onto the shin to help me get the lift up out of the pelvis. And then folding forwards gently. Just a comfortable position. When you start to feel your spine rounding around, that's where you need to hold. It might be deeper on one side than the other, not a problem. Still holding the tummy muscles in just a little bit. And then again, we're going to see if we can press the heel away and draw the hip back at the same time, just to get this leg a little straighter. Be careful to avoid pressing the knee down. It's about lengthening the leg out. And the body position pretty much stays constant. we can release from there. Now I'm actually going to bring both heels in towards the groin. I'm not folding the ankles over, and we're going to come into a forward fold. If you can't or are unable to or don't wish to bring the heels in towards the groin and fold over, then take the legs a little further forwards and cross at the shins so the feet are out wide. So you get the articulation in the hip, but you don't get quite so much stress into the ankles, and it avoids sitting on your bladder as well, which is quite handy. And come up onto the fingertips when you're ready. You've worked out which version you want to sit in. And then we're just going to walk the fingers forwards and keep the spine long again. So we are just dropping the body over the hips, and you can come down to the elbows, or you might want to come down lower onto the chest. You might be higher as well. Now we will lift out of here, take a note of which leg is in front, untangle, reload, come back in for the second side. Again, just take a little time to the hips, ankles, knees, etc., all to kind of understand that they've moved a little bit, and then bring the fingertips onto the floor. Get that nice long spine as you lift, and then gradually walking the fingers forwards and over, keeping the spine lovely and long. Head stays in line with the rest of the body. So the crown of the head is moving to the front of the mat, tailbone towards the back of the mat. You can actually press the hips back a little bit. Just gives you more space in the hip joint and makes it easier to come down lower. And then we'll lift back out of that. And we're going to have that strap quite close by. Take a little breath from here. I'm going to roll off of the block and just take that towards the back of the mat. Use that for a headrest. Knees are high, hands behind. Just going to slowly peel down. So use the core muscles a little bit to ease into the floor. And then once you arrive, draw the heels in towards your bottom onto the center line. And we're going to take the right knee in towards the chest, take the hands around the shin, and just draw and ease that knee towards the armpit. I'm going to slide the left heel out down the center line and press that leg away. That's going to feel like that's doing a lot of work around that hip flexor. Top of the quads. And then we'll release. We'll bring the heel back in, draw that in. Let the right leg release down to the floor. We'll take that across to left knee in towards the armpit. There's a few breaths here, just letting the spine, hip settle. And then we'll slide the right heel out, hopefully down the center line, toes pointing to the sky. Press out through the heel. And then we'll release and bring both feet in close to the bottom. I'm going to take the strap with its slightly large loop and take it around the sole of the right foot. Lengthen the leg up. I'm going to take the strap and bind it around the wrists just loosely. So as I lengthen the leg out, I can let the strap slide around the fist until it gets to a point where it's easy for me to grip hold of with the straight leg. So I'm using the weight of my arms to just help hold the leg, and I'm going to let the leg kind of sink into the strap. The two are balancing out each other, hopefully. So we'll release, bring the foot down, and then we'll take the foot around the ball of the foot again, take the strap, bind it around the fists. As the legs lengthen up, you get a chance to slide through, and then you can just squeeze the fingers very lightly to break the strap from sliding through. It's so much easier than trying to hold on with just your fingertips. Remember, big shoulders, we roll them down towards the floor, let the leg hang into the strap. So you're going to feel a stretch in the back of the leg. It's not caused by you trying to take the leg any further up or closer towards the body. It's the fact that you're letting the weight of the legs drop into the strap. And we'll release from there. I'm going to take that strap just out to the side, have it close by. With the feet close into the bottom, I'll take the arms out nice and wide. I'm going to take the hips over towards the left a little bit and let the knees roll down to the right, keeping the shoulders to the floor, so that's that nice, easy spinal twist. A sense of lengthening the hips away towards the front of the mat. We come back to the center, realign, just shift a little over to the right with the hips, so the knees go down to the left. And we'll come back to the center again and just realign. We'll take the left leg to the sky, turn the toes out, bend the knee. We're going to come into a figure four. So we'll drop the ankle to the outside of the right thigh, start to move the left knee towards the front of the mat, come up on the tiptoes of the right foot, and then draw the right leg in as well as you can. And then you take your left hand through the center of your legs, and you're either going to be able to wrap the hands around the shin or the back of the thigh on the right leg. Keep the left foot flexed. Right leg in this case can be relaxed. Just drawing slowly right leg towards the body, millimeter by millimeter, or fractions of millimeters maybe. And then ourselves release from there. Lengthen the leg out. Bring the foot down. We'll just repeat to the last side. Turn the toes out, bend the knee. Again, a little bit of time to let that right knee move towards the front of the mat. Then come up onto the tippy toes of the left foot. Use the leg to draw that left knee towards you, so it's not using the arms to start with. You keep the spine flat to the floor, and then you take one hand through the center and one hand around the outside of that left leg, and continue to use a little bit of force in the arms and the shoulders to ease that knee even closer into the body. Breath should be easy and relaxed. I know there's a big stretch going on in the outside hip on the right, but you want to judge that enough that you can still breathe easily. And then we'll release from there as well. And let the legs stretch out. Now we're going to take that strap and allow us to take the strap around the sort of the top of the knees. You want the buckle to be sort of facing your body, and then you're going to let the knees rock out to the side as you start to turn the soles of the feet together until you get to the point where it starts to feel comfortable. Now, if you haven't got the strap quite in the right place, you can wriggle around, and since the legs have opened up a little bit more from the beginning, you might need to want to use the belt strap just tightened up a little bit more. So we're not anywhere near the full extent of the opening of the legs. We're quite a bit away from that. The legs are completely supported by the strap, and the pelvis is in a lovely neutral position. Now, if you let the legs rock out too far, if that is just being sort of led by gravity, what can happen is the pelvis tilts and you get a curve or a greater curve in the lower back. This way, with the knees just held a little higher, spine is more neutral and it's more relaxing for the nervous system. So we're just going to stay here, and we may or may not move into a full Shavasana. I'll let you know when there's a few minutes left of the class. So if you want to change and lengthen the legs out, you can. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here and breathe. if you do wish to move deeper into Shavasana, allow yourself to use the hands underneath the thighs to draw the knees together. Extract yourself from the strap and lengthen the heels out gently to the corner edges of the mat. If you wish to stay in this pose, you can do. We'll start to breathe a little deeper. If you're still using the strap to cradle the legs, you can just draw on the strap or take the hands under the thighs to ease the knees back up. And everybody will draw the knees gently in towards their chest as they exhale. And finally, we'll right over to the right side, just tucking in gently. A couple of easy breaths here. And then use the hands on the exhale to lift up. Hopefully feeling nice and relaxed. Bring the hands in towards the heart as you close your eyes, taking a deeper breath in. Letting the chin drop. Bowing down gently to the floor, sealing your practice for the morning. And inhale, let the breath build the spine. Eventually opening the eyes. Namaste. Have a wonderful weekend. See you soon.